Hello, my dear friends. We know that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of sinas chinam, unwarranted hatred. And it always troubled me. Why is it called sinas chinam? There's always a reason. People don't just hate people for no reason. If they hate somebody already, there has to be some reason. So the answer is, I believe, is because it may be that there's a reason, but if it's unwarranted, unjustified, then it's sinas chinam. There's something you don't like about the person, but that doesn't give you the right, and it's not a good reason to hate the person. Now, there's a Rashi in this week's Parsha that talks about a quality that's the antidote to sinas chinam. When Moshe Rabbeinu was, right before he died, he asked God. God had told him he's not going to enter Eretz Yisrael. Moshe asked for a successor, and he refers to God. He says, Yifkod Hashem Elokei Ruchos, God, who is the God of the Spirit, Yifkod, he should appoint Ish Aleida, a person who's going to lead the Jewish people. So Rashi's troubled. Why does Moshe refer to God as Elokei HaRuchos, the God of the Spirit? So Rashi says that Goy V'Yidu Fanecha, the God is, before God is revealed, the spirit of each person, and people are not alike. No two people think the same. So Moshe Rabbeinu said to God, you understand that people are diverse. Appoint Manei Alehem Manig, somebody who could tolerate the thought process of every individual. So the critical word here, the key word, is savlonis, to be sovel, to be tolerant. To be tolerant, I've spoken about this in the past, does not mean to agree with everybody. People do things. I don't have to agree with what they're doing. I could be critical. I could think that they're acting inappropriately, but to be sovel means to carry the burden of difficult people or people with viewpoints that I don't think are justified or appropriate, but I could still have a relationship with them. I could still respect the person and not allow it to lead to sinas chinam, to unjustified anger and hatred. Because just because I don't like something about the person is not a reason to hate the individual. People hate each other for the most trivial and superficial reasons. I don't like the way the person dresses. I can't handle the person's personality. They're so irksome. Their sense of humor is not funny. It's off the wall. They're corny. They're naive. They're too aggressive. They're this. They're that. A million things. Oh, I don't like the way they dress. They dress they're too flamboyant, or they're too nerdy, or they're why is he wearing a white yarmulke? Why doesn't he wear a black yarmulke? Why is he wearing a velvet yarmulke? Why can't he wear a knitted yarmulke? Things that are so unimportant in the scheme of things. That's called sinas chinam, and it stems from a lack of savlanas, an inability to tolerate and be patient with people, even though they're behaving in a way that's different from the way I see things. And that's the quality that Moshe Rabbeinu asked the Kadosh Baruch Hu. A leader has to be able to tolerate everybody. He can't get annoyed and upset. Moshe Rabbeinu dealt with over 1 million people. If he would get bent out of shape over every deviant behavior, he wouldn't be able to survive as a leader. The people wouldn't be able to survive. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with everybody. I should have my own opinions, but I still have to tolerate the individual. I saw the Rabbi, who was one of the giants, the Musar of the Baal Musar in the last century. He was the mashgiach in the yeshiva Ber Yaakov. I had the schus to be in Ber Yaakov, which is a yeshiva in the city of Ber Yaakov in Israel. I was at the yeshiva in 1970, and I got to hear 2 discourses from Rabbi. Even then, I was a tremendous fan of his. He wrote 2 fantastic svarim, Alei Shur, which are just magnificent. They're roadmaps for how a person should live their life. So Rabbi makes the point that there's another form of savlanas. Until now, I'm discussing savlanas, patience, which means that there are things about the person's behavior that I find irksome. Rabbi says there's another form of savlanas that's very important for a leader, and it's very important for everyone, and that is that people oftentimes expect everybody to follow their own path and their own course, and they're not capable of appreciating the value of a different approach. And especially a person who's a leader, maybe they have a certain style and they'd like everybody to be like, they want cookie cutter people, that everybody is going to be the same. So a great leader is somebody that's extremely open-minded. He gives an example of Rav Chaim Soloveitchik, who was the great innovator, very creative Talmud Chacham. He developed a style of learning called the Brisker Derech. He lived in the end of the 19th century, the early part of the 20th century. So Rav Chaim had many different Talmidim. Rav Isser Zalman Meltzer, Rav Shimon Shkop, the Brisker Rav, who was his own son, and they all, the Bercha Shmuel, they all had, if you learn their works, you would never guess in a million years that they had the same Rebbe, because their style of learning is extremely different. And yet Rav Chaim was the Rebbe for each one, and they each one had tremendous respect for the Rebbe, and they each one quotes the Rebbe extensively. And that's because Rav Chaim was an open-minded person, and he didn't expect the Talmidim to all think the way he thought. He, on the contrary, he wanted them to develop their own way of thinking. Like Rashi says in Chumash, everybody has ein day the same Shabbos. No two people think alike. So therefore, that's another form of savlanas, to be able to see the best in people and want them to develop according to their own talents. And this is particularly is often a problem for parents, because parents, it's very common that parents want their children to follow in their footsteps, and if their child is not doing what the parent did when they were younger, then they're disappointed in the child. And why aren't you going to this yeshiva, or why aren't you pursuing this type of life, and why aren't you doing this, and why aren't you doing that? Every child has to do what fits them. I mean, the parent is entitled to encourage children to grow and develop religiously, but religious growth has to be according to the child. It can't be, child is not a duplication of the parent, a replica of the parent. Each child's different, and that's another form of savlanas, that to appreciate the value in different approaches. We have in Yiddishkeit, there's Hasidim, and there's Misnagdim, and in the world of Hasidus, there's Breslov, and there's Lubavitch, and there's so many different, and Ger, and there's so many different strains of in the Jewish community. They're all beautiful, but I don't have to. I don't have a right to impose my view on somebody else. I have to give them the freedom to choose which style speaks to them the most. If I'm a fan of Rav Kook, and my son wants to be a fan of Breslover, so that's wonderful, because if that speaks to his heart, I mean, my kids are not Breslovers, but if they would be, so that would be fine with me, because as long as I'm not being a Breslover, I'm just saying, a person has to be a savlan, has to be tolerant, and it's especially true with children, to allow children to pursue the course that suits them best. And it's true of a parent. It's true of a Rebbe or a Mora, that has to be able to encourage the child to develop in their own way. And it's true of leadership. Leadership has to encourage the diverse approaches that everybody has. They're legitimate for each person. It's legitimate. Moshe Rabbeinu refers to God as Elokei Haruchos, the God of the spirits. And I was thinking that people who are spiritual understand this idea of savlanas. It's people who get hung up on things that are superficial, and it leads to sinas chinam, because they're not doing it the way I do it, or they don't dress the way I dress, or they don't think the way I think. that is a reflection. The person who becomes angry because of that lacks the ruach. Ruach is the spiritual dimension of man. Ruach Elokim rachefes al pnei hamayim. When God created the world, the Spirit of God hovered over the water. God is, of course, we know is the spirit, the spiritual being, and we need to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu and be spiritual people. And spiritual people appreciate the value of diversity and the value of each individual pursuing their own goals. So those are two dimensions of self-awareness. One is to give everybody the freedom to and encouragement to develop their own skills. And so often children do things that are totally different when their parents did, but it's all fantastic. They excel in different ways, and secondly, even if a person is doing something that I think is inappropriate, not to be savlan means not to get bent out of shape because I could feel that it's wrong, but not to get bent out of shape. And then there's savlanas about things that are trivial, that I don't like the person's personality, that they have a crooked nose or a straight nose or whatever kind of nose, and it bothers me. That savlanas means to be calm and patient, and above all to be respectful of people, because to see the core, the inner soul, the ruach of each person. A person who has a ruach, who lives his life with ruach, or her life, is able to see the ruach of everybody else as well, and to encourage diversity and to encourage people to develop in their own special way.